Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
And I'm Aiara.
and welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, free Palestine. There's a movement of like blocking celebrities who aren't speaking out about it, and I'm not 100% sure about if that will like do anything. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure if that's super productive.
Right.
I'm not really sure if that'll work. If it does, I'll shut my mouth. But I don't know. It just doesn't feel like something that's really gonna have a super big impact. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Um, but you know, I'm actually gonna change the way I transition into what media we're consuming. Well, I
Hmm.
actually need to change the way I write it because I'm actually. So I always have been of the mind like there's no better word to use than consuming, even though consuming is kind of weird. It kind of makes media and art feel so tied to capitalism. It's such a weird word. But I
Right.
realized that instead I'm going to start using the word interact. What media have
Hmm.
you interacted with lately? Um, I'm sitting here editing my notes, and it usually says number one, what media are you consuming? And I just changed consuming to interact, so it just says what media are you interact. But
Silly.
I'll have to fix that later. But like yeah, I feel like that's better. It's
Yeah.
it's not all about consumption. It's about what do you interact with, in any way, shape, or form, and how it makes you feel. But yeah, what media have you been interacting with lately?
I've been keeping up with Dungeon Meshi really heavily. Still enjoying that a lot. I'm trying to think. It's been light. Waiting for Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, which is 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks. Until that's a thing. I've been playing a lot of Luigi's Mansion just because. Also because they're re-releasing Dark Moon on Switch, I think, this year. So I've been prepping for that. And that's about it.
Cool. Uh,
Yeah.
I did want to mention off top just a little bit about the Drake and Kendrick beef. Actually, I'm gonna save that.
Mm.
No, no, no. I'm gonna talk about it off top because it's like I feel like we have to talk about it
No, yeah, absolutely.
because I didn't care until I heard that Kendrick released the track 30 minutes after Drake did, completely taking the wind out of his sails. And then the next day, he released a West Coast club banger where he's calling Drake and everybody he hangs with P. Diddy's. And
Mm.
that's just absolutely diabolical supervillain
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Crazy. I'm not sure how YouTube handles that P word, so I'm just gonna say Diddy because that's how the term Diddy should be used. It shouldn't be replacing the very outdated use of the term gay. It should be used for weirdos,
Right.
like actually bad people, not just to
Right.
replace people being homophobic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm I long years ago. I'm gonna say a long time ago, but years ago, I've learned not to put celebrities on pedestals. So I'm not gonna.
Right.
I for sure am a much bigger Kendrick fan, and I'm not gonna lie. As the longer the beef goes on, the less I like Drake. It's hard for me to even hear his voice now.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna sit here and try and put Kendrick on a pedestal, and who knows what'll come out about him and bad things he's done. As far as we know, maybe he's abused his wife, which is messed up and wrong. But
Right.
who knows? Who knows? The stuff about Drake might also be fake, even though some of it there is like evidence. So it's like, a lot of that's true. Um, so it's like, at the end of the day, these are people, and people can be bad, whether they're celebrities or not. So I want to make that very
Right.
clear because I learned that lesson with Dave Chappelle and Kanye West.
Hmm.
Two artists who works I enjoyed a lot, and when I was much younger and dumber, I defended them, and then I realized that was stupid. I don't know these people, and if they're bad people, they're bad people. That doesn't ruin my life.
Yeah.
Um, but other media I've been consuming other than that absolutely incredible song. Um, I started replaying Assassin's Creed Origins because I came across a great Assassin's Creed YouTuber named Master Assassin and watched a few of his retrospectives on some of the games, and that
Mm-hmm.
just sparked my interest in Origins again to give it another chance because I wasn't a fan of RPGs back when it came out in like well, it came out 2017. I got it in like 2018 or something like that. But
Right.
with my newfound enjoyment of RPGs, I figured I'd give it another shot. And I haven't played too much of it so far, but I'm enjoying it a bit more than I did before. I do still stand by the fact that Origins should have been the beginning of either a spin-off that takes place in the same universe or a completely new IP from Ubisoft that focused on mythology because they went from Egypt to Greece to Norse. So like that the
Right.
games are at this point, especially Odyssey. Odyssey literally doesn't have assassins in it. Um,
Mm.
Valhalla does, but it's like, bro, these aren't Assassin's Creed games anymore. But supposedly,
Right.
we're recording this on May 13th, 2024. Supposedly sometime this week, Ubisoft is going to have an event and show off their newest game, which will finally take place in Japan. Um, and there were rumors a while back that about like different gameplay elements that I feel like are just too good to be true. So I'll wait to see. But one of them was like the stealth was going to be similar to Splinter Cell, and I was like, whoa, that would be crazy.
Oh,
And I was like,
that's
if they
crazy.
because it's wild to me that Assassin's Creed is by a lot of people considered to be a stealth game. But I look back on those games, I'm like, the stealth in these games, as a person who plays like Metal Gear and Splinter Cell, is like, and Dishonored, it's like the stealth in these games are all right at best.
Right.
Like I'm not playing Assassin's Creed and calling it a stealth game. I'll never call it Assassin's Creed a stealth game, even though it really should be. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping this new Japan-based Assassin's Creed game will be the first one I play in a while since Origins. I've also been playing uh, another Origins game, X-Men Origins Wolverine, the movie tie-in game. Back when those were a thing.
Right.
Uh, and yeah, this game I've always heard good things about it. And lately, I'm not gonna lie, I checked out a little bit more of those Wolverine leaks because they randomly popped up on my YouTube algorithm.
Right.
And I was
Right.
watching. I was like, man, this game is gonna be so good when it finally comes out. Um, and yeah, I just that plus I'm watching X Men and X Men '97. Everybody, is talking about that. I
Right.
just had I needed some Wolverine in my life. I needed a good Wolverine game, so I bought this on eBay for my PS3 because that's the only way you can play it. And yeah, it's fun.
Right.
It's a good game. I also got the very first Resistance Fall of Man for PS3 as well, and Zone of the
Ooh.
Enders. And I tested out all those to make sure that they work. Zone of the Enders is a mech game by Hideo Kojima from the early 2000s,
Interesting.
and it has the most early 2000s ass animated intro that I've ever seen in my entire life, and it goes on way longer than it should. But I only played a little bit, man. It's fun so far. Um, Finished up Ninja Kamui.
Hmm. What'd you think?
It got so bad towards the end. Like
Oh,
it
boo.
started so strong, and like the story was always whatever. It was never like a good story. It was serviceable, and the action was really good. But the mechs, I was so excited for them because the fight with the
Hmm.
mechs was good. But then when it's mech on mech fight, because the main character gets a mech, I'm not one to talk trash about 3D animation. In the middle of like a mostly 2D animated show,
Right.
because nowadays it's usually good. It's not good in this show. It's so bad. All the
Oh,
3D animated fights in the show are ass. They're so bad. It's unfortunate that as the show went on, it just got worse and worse, and it just became painful to watch the show the longer it went on. And
I
I
just
just I just couldn't wait to finish it. It's
yeah.
finally over. I finally have been released from the hell that is Ninja Kamui.
Right.
Because it started so strong, but yeah, close to finishing up season 3 of Ben 10 Alien Force. YouTube calls it season 4, but apparently it's only 3 seasons. It's weird. Um, but yeah, they need to release a HD Blu-ray of Ben 10 because I bought it on YouTube because it just you can't get a Blu-ray of it. You can only buy it in like 480p DVDs. So it's like that's trash.
Stupid.
I would have preferred to just either it's not on, or maybe I don't know, maybe they added it again. I should probably check, but I already bought it, so it's too late. But
Right.
they took it off Max because David
Oh,
Zaslav sucks. Yeah, that's why I'm watching on YouTube.
yeah.
Otherwise, I would be watching it on Max because it's owned by HBO. Um,
Right. Alas.
but yeah, they took it off. I don't know. Maybe they added it again, but I bought it a while ago, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
um, what else am I watching? Vinland Saga. Still watching that.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. I haven't watched it in a couple of days, so I don't really have much to say.
Real.
Also watching Denjimeshi. Still good. Laios has literally got that dog in him. He
He is my rotten soldier. I love him so much.
That man can just mimic dog barks, and when he went into what's her name, Marcel?
Yeah.
Marcel's dream, he was a dog. He's literally got that dog in him. But Kaiju number 8, that anime's still going. Oh, I keep forgetting to watch it because they it plays live every Saturday, so I don't
Mm-hmm.
watch it until Sunday, and then I forget to watch it on Sunday. I'm gonna have to watch that tonight.
Mm.
So I haven't watched the last episode, but I saw the episode before that last week, and yes, it's good. The art style has I don't know. The art style looks like it does in the manga, but I fail to realize how flat the faces kind of are. Like
Oh
when
no.
they're drawn in like 3/4, their faces are weirdly flat, and it's not bad. It's just a little weird when you see it. But
Right.
the art in the manga and the animation in the show are really good. And last but not least, still watching X Men. I'm on season 4 now, and Magneto returns for the first time since the end of the second season. Where in the
Wow.
second season, Professor Xavier and Magneto get stranded in the Savage Lands, and most of the season, they're not in it except for like at the very end of the episode for like 5 minutes, it'll be them in the Savage Land trying to depower, trying to figure out what's happening and being confused.
Right.
And it wasn't until like the last 3 episodes that the X Men went to the Savage Land to go rescue Professor X and Magneto.
Mm.
Um, but in other X Men news, Ryan Coogler is rumored to be the director of the Black Panther films is rumored to be directing the first X Men film, which I
Ooh.
could not think of a more perfect fit. People are going to talk trash because they're racist, but like
Right.
this man could not be more perfect with the type of movies he makes. He knows how to write stories about the struggle. He knows what he's doing,
Yeah.
and he'll do a great job if he lands it.
I hope he does.
Yeah. Moving on to animation. I sent you a trailer for something called Killtube. Uh,
You did, and I watched it.
yeah. In 2026, Japan continues its isolation under the Edo shogunate. Amid strict social hierarchies, 3 individuals, treated as scum of society, cross paths in a prison cell destined for a fateful encounter. They joined the dueling video platform Killtube to pursue fortune and to win their freedom in a segregational world. For those of you who don't know, in Edo shogunate, they just didn't allow people from outside of Japan into Japan. Uh, they
Yep.
just banned everybody.
Open the country. Stop having it be closed. History of Japan. Love that video.
Yep. In an era dubbed the age of great duels, where one can amass immense wealth simply by defeating the strong, they face discrimination from samurais and merchants seeking power and authority. As they break the limits of convention and claim victory after victory, they rise in popularity, becoming decorated celebrities of their time. However, just as they reach the height of their fame, they uncover the hidden truth behind Killtube. I mean, it's called Killtube. Of course, it's gonna be weird,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm certain it's not a mistake. It's also coming out in 2026,
Mm.
which is a
Yeah.
while from now. But
Mm-hmm.
they probably
Good.
because I imagine animation does take a long time, and the animation looks incredible. It's a mix of all types of animation, 3D, 2D. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some stop motion in there somewhere because the
Right.
trailer is very fast paced, and there's a lot going on, a lot of colors, a lot of movement, and it looks real fun. I can't remember if this is meant to be a movie or a show, but I think it might be a movie. And yeah, uh, it's either animation takes a long time, so it's coming out 2026, or they purposely pushed it back to 2026, both so that they could put more time into animation and so that it can come out the year that the series takes place.
Right.
But yeah, it looks cool. Um,
It does look
I hope
very
it's
really
good.
good.
Scavengers Reign will be
Oh,
hitting Netflix on May 31st. It was originally on Max. And I don't know, did you ever finish it?
I didn't.
Well,
But
it's gonna be on Netflix.
that,
I'm gonna rewatch it.
I'm gonna rewatch it too because it'll be it'll be easier for me to watch. And B, like
Gotta show these shows
it's been a
support
minute. Yeah.
because I already seen it, but it was good. First off, it's just a good show. I like to see it again, but also, I want to support it on a different platform and make sure
Yeah.
that the people working on it can make more stuff and that more stuff like this gets made. It's just a really good, very uh, a good sci-fi show where these people from um, their cargo ship crash lands on this foreign planet, and most of them, well, not most of them die. Most of them are stuck in like what is it called?
Hyperbolic sleep or something.
Yeah, like cryo sleep.
Yeah.
And like a handful of the main characters of the show are trying to survive and trying to make their way back to the ship so that they can get off the planet. It's a very good show. Um, little Lovecraftian. There's a lot of like um weird alien horror. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily like a horror show, but there is some weird like alien horror type stuff,
It's
elements.
more of a thriller. Yeah.
And yes, yeah, it is more of a thriller. And the planet itself is very interesting, and how all of the flora and fauna live together and work. And the way that one of the characters, who's like a biologist or something, like starts to study them and learn how they work, and use it to help them get to the ship is very fun. But Batman Cape Crusader, we got some official news on the upcoming Batman cartoon. Amazon Prime tweeted, Gotham City Knights are on the way. Batman Cape Crusaders, a new series from Bruce Timm, J.J. Abrams, and Matt Reeves arrives August 1st. Bruce Timm, of course, being the lead on the Batman the Anime series. J.J. Abrams, very famous director. He directed those Star Trek films. I know you're a Star Trek fan. And
Well, he's an author. I have a book of his. He's a
yeah,
really good author too.
yeah, and he also directed the Star Wars film, which I'm a big fan of.
Hmm.
Yeah, what is it? Force Awakens, which I love that movie.
Ah,
But he also
really?
directed, what is it? Rise of Skywalker, which I hate that movie.
Gotcha. Oh,
And Matt Reeves,
duality of man.
yeah, and Matt Reeves directed the Batman. Yeah, this is
Mm.
arriving August 1st. And they showed a bunch of screenshots from the show, which now I'm thinking about, I should probably send those to you. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm gonna just send you the article because
Okay,
I can't find. I'm not gonna be able to find a tweet. But
and that's okay.
let's see. Yeah, you can see a lot of the images in the article.
Right.
Um, but yeah, they show a bunch of screenshots from the show, and we saw some leaks of the designs before, and there was one character that was mistaken for another. We see Harley Quinn, but we saw another character that everybody thought was her name Montoya, but that's actually Harleen Quinzel, Harley Quinn out of costume.
Hmm.
So the title of the article is Batman Cape Crusader First Look Reveals Asian American Harley Quinn and a really weird Dark Knight. So Bruce Timm wanted to do something different with Harley and decided to make her Asian and completely unaffiliated with the Joker.
Mhm.
Instead, she's Bruce Wayne's psychiatrist who moonlights as a costume villain at night. Opposite
Ooh.
of her usual self, she's more whimsical as Harleen, but deadly serious as Harley, and uses her knowledge as a psychiatrist as a weapon. Um, we also get confirmation that this version of Clayface won't be a clay monster, and instead more like
Mhm.
the original and draw on classic horror movies. And
Right.
the show is a period piece set in the 40s. And
Mm.
we see an image of Gordon, who's black in this version of of Batman, and we
Mhm.
see Catwoman in her. Like I said last time we saw it, I like her classic purple costume. Some people don't like it. I really like Catwoman in purple and the classic costume with
It looks nice.
the green cape. I like it. It's fun. But yeah, I'm excited for the show. I'm not the biggest fan of the art style, but maybe it'll look better in motion.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like I don't know, cause I feel like I don't know. Maybe it's different because I'm thinking about the art style of the third season of Batman anime series where they completely changed it to make
Right.
it to match Superman anime series, and I don't know. I feel like I never had a problem with that until maybe more recently because I watched the entirety of it and then I saw I was like, oh, this is different, and
Right.
some of the designs are worse, but for the most part, it's not that bad. But yeah, it'll probably look better in motion. Um, but sticking on that train, My Adventures with Superman, we got a full trailer for season 2,
Oh
and
yes.
yeah, we see Brainiac and we get a straight up reveal, 100% confirmation of Supergirl. She's even featured prominently on the poster, and I'm real excited to see how they explore Clark and Kara's relationship in this. I'm not really feeling Brainiac's voice, to be honest, but maybe it'll grow on me. But if we, I forgot. No, I didn't forget, but I was reminded that they got the dude who voices Jerry from Rick and Morty to voice Deathstroke, and his voice does not fit at all. You've seen the original Teen Titans, Slade, Deathstroke. You know what he sounds like. It's Ron Perlman. That's what you think of when you think of Deathstroke. Ron Perlman, not the dude. He's not even doing a different voice. He stole Jerry from Rick and Morty, but in Deathstroke's body, it's weird. The voice does not match the character. Who is the casting director on this show? We need to have a conversation. Everybody else is good. Everybody else is perfectly fine. It's just that one character that I feel like they made a horrible decision.
Right.
It's such a weird choice. But we also see Atomic Skull, which pretty sure it's Atomic Skull because it just looks like him. But with the way that they treat Superman's villains in the show, it could be a combination of Atomic Skull and Metallo. Metallo is the cyborg with the who's fueled by kryptonite. And I wouldn't be surprised if they combined them because they've done stuff like that in the show before.
Right.
But yeah, they also released a short teaser, a couple minutes long, that shows Amanda Waller taking control of General Lang's operation and attempting to kill him, Lois, Jimmy, and Superman. We see a little brawl between Superman and Atomic Skull. It's something that DC still does that I love, and I hope that they do forever, is they highlight comics at the end of their trailers. Usually, you know, of course, pertaining to whatever character it's about. So they show some Superman comics at the end of this. But I also watched a trailer for the Joker has been added to Multiverses and being voiced by Mark Hamill, because Mark Hamill said he said that he's retiring the voice after Kevin Conroy passed away, but he also said long ago before that he'll always voice the Joker if Kevin Conroy is involved, and that's why he's retiring it now. But Kevin Conroy does voice Batman in Multiverses, so he decided to do the Joker voice for Multiverses. Granted, he might have recorded those lines way before he said he retired. Actually, now I think about it, retired as the Joker specifically.
Right.
But at the end of that, they also show you read these comics about the Joker. So DC does it for everything now, which is great. They do it for video games as well. And yeah, they just need to keep doing this, and Marvel needs to start doing it. But who knows if they'll ever do that, because they're ashamed of the comics. Dang, I didn't expand on my notes for this thing, but oh yeah, this is coming out May 25th. But the Bad Batch, I just wrote decent. I forgot to expand on these notes, but it's over. It ended. It's done. It was fun. It was a good show while it lasted. It was decent. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst. It was all right. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but I don't really have too much to say. Maybe I'll talk about it in a Star Wars episode with a beer one of these days. Who knows? But it was all right. It was fun. What was great though was Tales of the Empire. There's Star Wars, and it's not really an anthology, and it's completely canon, and they're shorter, 13-minute episodes. It's a bit of an anthology, and it focused on two different characters. What was it? It was I can never remember. Morgan Elsbeth and her name is lost to me, but I probably should say it anyway, so it's a slight spoiler. But yeah, it was better than Tales of the Jedi in my opinion, only because there was no Ahsoka, kinda. I love Ahsoka. She's my favorite Star Wars character, but there's such a thing as too much. And even though this anthology didn't have an unnecessary amount of Ahsoka like the last one did, her presence hangs in the air because she has a direct connection to both of the lead characters. Barriss Offee, or Afi, is who the other character was. And it's likely for a good reason, because one of the characters was the main villain of the Ahsoka series, Morgan Elsbeth. And Barriss Offee was part of the arc where Ahsoka eventually leaves the Jedi Order. And she's revealed to potentially still be alive now, so she might. Morgan Elsbeth is already in the Ahsoka show, and I have a feeling Barriss is probably going to show up in the second season. So, this is kind of, even though she wasn't in the show, she still clearly has an effect on it in a lot of ways, which is really funny. Because the end of the first, because it was 3 episodes for Morgan Elsbeth, and the end of it leads into the episode of The Mandalorian where Ahsoka first shows up in live action, played by Rosario Dawson, called The Jedi. It leads directly into that, which is the episode that also introduced Morgan Elsbeth, and then Barriss Offee is her episodes are picking up from after the arc where Ahsoka leaves the Order. So all of it's directly connected to Ahsoka. It's just really funny how she's not in it, but it's still directly connected to her.
She haunts the narrative. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
But Blood of Zeus season 2 came out. It was supposed to come out on the 9th, but got pushed back to the 10th. But yeah, I watched it all this weekend. 8 episodes, 30 minutes each. Last episode I think was like 37. But because I remember it was getting close to this, like, the last episode, I was like, how are they gonna wrap this up? They didn't, because they're for sure making a season 3 now. Because the first season ended on like this could be the end forever. But then the show did well, so they made a second season, and now they expect this season to do well. So they're setting up a third. And this season completely outdid the first season in every way possible, kinda. Actually, except for one very, very small part that I'll get to at the end. The writing is incredible. Hades and Persephone are such nuanced characters who plight you immediately sympathize with, and they had a lot more depth to the main villain from the first season, who's going through a bit of a path of redemption. And the gods in the show overall is just very flawed and relatable. And this is the exact kind of content I needed while I wait to play Hades 2 in early access next month. If you're feeding for some Greek myth content because of Hades 2, watch Blood of Zeus. Watch both seasons of Blood of Zeus on Netflix. It's so good. Unfortunately, the main character, Heron, his arc isn't super interesting in this season. He honestly is a bit of a side character in his own show, and Hades and Seraphim, the main villain from the first season, are kind of the main characters in this season. But the season ends on a huge cliffhanger. So they're definitely gearing up for season 3, and hopefully Heron has a lot more to do in season 3. Because I do like him as a character, I just felt like they didn't do a lot with him this season. But yeah, moving on to comics. Action comics. The end of the I, Bizarro arc. Bizarro Superman attempted to turn Prime Earth into Bizarro World by using magic to turn everyone into bizarre versions of themselves. And Superman is able to prevent Bizarro from taking over his body for a short while, but that won't last forever. So he seeks the help of the now sane Joker, who helps him dive into his mind to defeat Bizarro Superman. Amazon's attack at the end of this story as well. Spoiler alert for issue 6 of Amazon's attack. The villain is revealed to be one of the original Amazons who felt that women fighting back against men caused nothing but problems and should go back to being subservient. They need to get back in the kitchen. She is, of course, defeated by the combined might of Nubia, the Wonder Girls, Mary Marvel, and queen of the Bonner McDowell tribe of Amazons, Faruka. A very fun little series. I read anything with Nubia, I just read it because Nubia stuff has been great. Birds of Prey. Prey. Black Canary discovers that someone is attempting to kill Barbara Gordon, so she recruits Vixen back into the fold of the Birds of Prey to help find out who is trying to kill Barbara and stop them. Mark Waid's Flash, still reading this comic from the 80s, finished up the Green Lantern crossover with the Gorilla Grodd arc, and then the issue after is The issue after I can't word this for some reason. The issue after that is entirely in bullet time. As the Flash sees that someone is attempting to assassinate someone else, and thinks of how he can best prevent the bullet from hitting its target, and the whole time he's just trying to figure out how to stop this bullet, and it's real cool.
It sounds cool.
The issue after that was a classic Flash conundrum of being the fastest man alive but not having enough time for the ones you love. Linda Park, the Flash's friend with benefits, is leaving to work at another news station, but would be willing to stay if Wally says what they are. But naturally, he gets caught up in supervillain shenanigans and has to race against the clock. Good old Flash stuff. And in the last issue I read, Barry Allen has somehow returned from the dead. I know how.
Oh.
I know how this story arc's going, but I'm still excited anyway. It's real. I'm excited. Ultimate Black Panther number 3. T'Challa teams up with Killmonger and Storm to stop Moon Knight from destroying Wakanda.
Oh.
Moon Knight being the name of the combined forces of Ra and Khonshu. Khonshu is the person who gives Moon Knight his powers. I say powers in quotations because they're kind of powers, and they only really work when it's a full moon.
Right.
and they're not like they don't make him like particularly strong. In the show, he basically becomes Wolverine and has like a healing factor, but in the comics, he just gets a little bit stronger when there's a full moon. Helen of Windhorn, number 2. Following the tragic death of her late father, Casey Cole, the esteemed pulp writer and creator of the popular warrior character Othan, Helen Cole is called back to her grandfather's enormous and illustrious estate, Windhorn House. At the end of the first issue, her grandfather arrives home in time to slay a fantastical beast before it could attack, leaving Helen with tons of questions that he refuses to answer in the second issue.
Boy.
But yeah, it's real good. I can never pronounce her first name. It's like Billa Kess or something like that. Evely and Tom Kane are just so good. They're so good together. And I'm excited for issue 3. Power Girl. While tracking down the missing citizens of Metropolis, Paige and Kara have found themselves powerless in the mythical realm of Pharimbia. They'll now have to rely on their wits to find an escape. Yeah, that's all I got for comics. You have anything?
Quick thing. So they finally revealed the covers for the deluxe omnibuses for Trigun and Trigun Maximum, and they look fantastic. I pre-ordered the first volume of Trigun Maximum, not the rest, just the first, because Books A Million only had the first. It's a little tragic, but I'm really excited. Those cool. Release, sparingly throughout the year. So I think
I got Wolfwood's gun on there. His cross. That's cool.
I know, they're so cool. Trigun, like the first bit of Trigun releases, I believe, sometime in July. Then the first volume of Trigun Maximum is in October, and so on and so forth. So that's really exciting.
I'm surprised the first one has Wolfwood's cross on it, and they didn't put it on the one where, but anyway.
I think probably because he's introduced in that like subset of what's it called? It's like that's his introduction and the whole thing.
He's introduced in original Trigun, and then at the beginning of Maximum, he just goes and finds Vash.
Right. I forgot. See, this is why I need to reread them. But then it still makes sense to me because it's like that whole thing with the Eric's arc, and I feel like that's
the deluxe edition for the original series has the gun on it, so they're probably doing it in order of like importance of the characters. Like first,
it's very sweet.
Yeah, it's Vash's gun, then it's Wolfwood's cross.
Amelia Merrill, and I think Legato is on volume 4.
Yeah, which is a choice. Why not Knives?
I feel like if it were me, I would save Knives for the last volume.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say
not yet. There hasn't been.
Okay, that's why. Because I was saying if there's gonna be a last one, then you're probably gonna have Knives. What is it gonna be? Knives? Probably. It's probably gonna be literal knives.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for Millie to be in Stampede.
Same. I miss Big Girl so bad.
Because I know we were all like, "Who is this man?" And then at the end, they're like, "Oh, they're setting up," which is weird. Like, why? It was if we're being real, he was an unnecessary character. You did not need to make a new character to introduce a new character.
Yeah, that doesn't stop me from loving him though.
Yeah, I mean,
was Roberto wholly unnecessary?
He
Probably.
He wasn't a bad character, but like it was
definitely cool.
It was a strange decision.
Yeah, but he's not Millie. That's the end all to be all. He's not Millie.
But yeah, we'll see how they redesign her in the next season.
If they make her any less big, I will be pissed.
Yeah, who knows how long that'll be. They still need to make Dora. But anyway.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that's Mappa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Mappa. I'm getting my 3D anime confused. I meant Beastars. They need to make Beastars.
Yeah, that's coming later this year, I think.
Is it?
From what I've heard.
I wouldn't be surprised if they drop it and Mappa picks it up. So that they can overwork their people even more.
Yep. New arc is confirmed, scheduled for 2024. They just don't say when. So probably later in the year.
We're not going to
It's the final season.
So we're probably not going to see. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. I remember they said that, and I was like, this season better be long. There's so much material.
Oh, yeah, they're putting it in the 2 parts.
Oh, okay. They're pulling in Attack on Titan. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
It's going to go on forever. It's going to be like 3 years before it ends. Attack on Titan. I mean, Beastars final season, part 5.
Right.
The beginning. But moving on to TV and film. We got some posters and a little bit uh my brain not working. Uh, we got a poster and a reveal of the costume for Captain America in Captain America: Brave New World, and
Mm.
it's not bad, but it's unfortunate. They sucked all the
Oh,
uniqueness out of his costume. I don't even know. Just look up like Captain America: Brave New World costume, and you'll see it.
all right. Let's see.
And I'll send you the his costume from the first season, not the first season, but the end of Captain America, not Captain America,
I don't like it.
Falcon
I
and the Winter
immediately
Soldier,
don't like it.
especially in
I'm
comparison
looking at.
to his costume from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is ripped straight out of the comic books. Um,
I
and it looks
think
so good.
the part of it for me is the glasses. I don't like them. They look stupid. They look. I don't know. Just I'm not a fan at all.
And here's the thing: they also are going to be giving him a helmet that looks bad.
I've seen the helmet.
Yeah,
I
so
really don't like the helmet.
I did see a piece of artwork that made it look cool, but at the same time, it screams of racism and a way to hide the black
Yeah.
man's face in posters in certain regions of the world, um, which
Yeah.
sucks. And it can look cool, but it's like his old costume was so good. Look at it; it's so beautiful. It's ripped straight out of comics. It
So
looks so
good.
good. It did not need to change, and they're also doing this obviously to sell toys and stuff like that. And it's like,
And
stop
it's
it,
like boo.
stop it. This movie already is like, who knows how it's gonna go. One of the main characters is gonna be an Israelite who in the comics is
Oh,
a Zionist and eventually
oof.
realizes that being a Zionist is bad. But with Marvel's track record, who know they're probably not gonna be able to do that in a way that is good.
Oof.
But I mean, in a perfect world, potentially maybe they make like the greatest piece of like anti-Israel materia ever
Imperialist.
created.
Yeah.
Like the
But
potential
it's
is crazy because that's what, despite the fact that, and there's been a bit of a hubbub about Captain America being in a X-Men 97 episode and him
right.
siding with the government because anytime anybody writes Captain America outside of a Captain America comic, they make him a government stooge because he's Captain America and he wears the American flag on his chest. So obviously, they just want to
Right.
do that with this character. But whenever you read a Captain America comic, he is the complete opposite of that. This man is the most. Uh, he's just. What's the term? Carl. What's his last name?
Uh,
Dang, Marx, I think.
Karl Marx. Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
he is Karl Marx through and through. This man does not
Mm,
mess with any government anywhere. He's going against the government constantly. It's not that he represents what America is or was. He's meant to represent what America can be. But
right.
every time somebody writes Captain America outside of that, a Captain America focused thing, he's a government stooge, and it never makes sense. And it creates this weird dichotomy with the character. And a Captain America movie
Right.
where you have Sam Wilson as Captain America, a black Captain America, you could tell a really good story that's
You really
completely
could.
against Israel and for Palestine. But Disney is going to do that.
Right. I was gonna say it's Disney and it's Marvel. They're not. My hopes are very low. Say
Like,
that.
I would like it to be that, but it's not. We know it's not. We got a second trailer for the Acolyte Star Wars show. And this one caught my attention a lot more than the first one. I'm still excited for it. It comes out next month, but like, or yeah, I think next month. And but like the first trailer just didn't do much for me, but this one looked a lot more interesting. And we see
Mm.
some more Sith because it takes place in the High Republic, which has been weird. They started a bunch of novels and like comics, and it's featured a little bit in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, but this is going to be the first time they actually put it in a movie or excuse me, a show, and in live action and in just a piece of media that most Star Wars fans will actually see. Um,
Mm.
so they're actually finally starting to push it, and hopefully they start making some games that takes place in that time period, which is essentially when the Jedi were at their height, and there were little to no Sith whatsoever, and
Right.
like the Jedi just not controlled everything because that's not how they are, but like there are a lot of them, and they're out exploring the galaxy and trying to help people.
Right.
And this is meant to kind of be like the beginning of the downfall of the Jedi that leads to the prequels. But yeah, I want more like Sith focused stuff, and this is always been said to be more Sith focused, so I'm excited to see that. Going into 3 movies I saw recently. Saw Godzilla X Kong New Empire, and it's very, very fun kaiju movie. It's mostly Kong focused with a lot less humans, and far more kaiju. Not as much Godzilla, but Godzilla's there. It's weird that it's called Godzilla X Kong when it's really just, it should just be called Kong New Empire.
Because it's Godzilla in it.
It's mostly a Kong movie. And I'm sure you've seen the memes and clips from the movie of like Godzilla suplexing Kong and Kong slapping a bunch of other giant apes with a baby ape.
That one I've seen so much of, and I have so many questions.
I saw it again. It's so funny. The movie is really good. We're just Godzilla and Kong fans are eating good. Just kaiju fans in general. It's a real fun movie. What they did in this movie, I feel like the only way they can top it is if they go to space next. You got to send Godzilla and Kong to space. Mm-hmm. But I also saw Abigail. And I sent you a trailer for it. Which is the trailer that I saw when I went to go see Monkey Man with Amir, and it immediately caught my interest. Especially when I heard that it was made by Radio Silence, which is the filmmaking duo behind the last 2 Scream movies. So I saw it a couple weeks ago with my mom, and it was amazing. It was a phenomenal vampire horror comedy. And I'm glad to see Melissa Barrera, who plays like the main character in the last 2 Scream movies, still getting work after being fired from Scream for demanding a ceasefire. And Radio Silence standing with her is really cool. And it's out on Amazon Prime right now. So
wow.
You should check it out. It's real good. It's great.
I just might.
I think you like have to pay for it, but
that's okay.
You can like rent it for like $5 or something. Like, it's real good. It's a great movie. I also saw Challengers. Oh my god.
I saw you talking about it on Twitter.
This movie was just made for bisexuals. I've not been able to stop thinking about this movie since I've seen it. I immediately reworked a story I was writing to kind of bring in aspects of the lead characters from this movie. It's beautifully written, shot, acted, and scored. I went to see this movie for Zendaya, love of my life. But the other 2 leads, Mike Faist and Josh O'Connor, also did an incredible job. It's hard to describe, okay? This letterboxed review by Rocky encapsulates this film better than I ever could. So, why do I have Slack open? Close Slack. Get out of here. Why are you open? It's 7 o'clock. Why do I have Slack open?
Mine just went off, and I know better, but I always check it by habit.
I didn't even know I still had it open. I forgot to close it. I usually close Slack at like 6, but I left it open.
Right.
But yeah, in the review, they say, "Oh, what do you do when one day you wake up and you look at your life and realize this was never the life you were supposed to have? And you realize that the man who loves you isn't someone you can respect, and the one man you respect isn't someone you can forgive. Do you choose your home or your mirror? Worse, how do you confess that you trade your husband and your daughter and the daughter you made together in a heartbeat for the unbroken knee that could have made you the greatest in the world? And what happens when your best friend and your wife betray you, far before they even sleep together? What do you do when they're the ones with natural talent, but you're the only one entrusted with the glory? When you know your best friend would kill to have your wife, wouldn't you bear being unloved? When you know your wife would kill to have your healthy body, wouldn't you let her have it? And what is there to do when you're the thorn in the marriage that was yours to begin with? When you don't love the game even half as much as you love your best friend and the girl you both grew up loving, how else could you keep them around, if not to torture them? To be the blistering wedge between them still means being with them. Isn't that the whole point? Bruh. When I read this review, crazy. I was like, this perfectly describes the movie. It's so good. And it is also on Amazon Prime right now. You should watch it. It's so good.
I might.
It's so good.
I think a lot of good things about it, but I've been kind of on the fence about watching it.
I remember we seen a trailer a while back, and I was like, I just watched the trailer because it's Zendaya. And then there was the scene where it's like, hinting at a threesome. And I was like, you know what?
Right.
I would like to see that. And yeah, it's a good movie, and it's real good. It's about tennis.
Right.
And I was going into it thinking like it was gonna kind of be like anime, where it makes me a little bit more interested in tennis, which it did. But it isn't
Right.
like anime in the sense that it like dives deep into like how tennis works. It does not tell you
Right.
the rules. It does not teach you about tennis. It does not tell you about techniques in tennis like sports anime do. They
We
just
ain't here for all
they
that.
just play tennis. They just do it, and you just see it, and it looks cool, and they play cool music while it happens. And they go back and forth between flashbacks about when they were in college to like now they're adults, and two of them are married and have a kid. And Zendaya's character is shown in the trailer. She hurts herself. She was a star tennis player in college, getting sponsorships all over the place. But then she hurts herself, can't play anymore. But her husband,
Right.
Ken, and she essentially lives. She becomes his coach and kind of lives the life of a tennis player through him. But at the same time, he doesn't want to do it anymore. But he's just doing it
Oh.
for her, and he feels like if he doesn't keep doing this, then their relationship would just fall apart. But then the other character,
Right.
his former best friend, who used to date Zendaya's character, Tashi is her name, and I think, and they kind of just had a falling out a long time ago, but she still has a thing for him, but it's only physical. It's not romantic. It's very interesting, and I need you to see it so we can talk
Sounds
about it
interesting.
in depth
Okay.
because it's so good. It's so good,
All right.
and it's very complicated. The way because when the movie ends, you're gonna be like, "What the hell? How the what?"
Did I
The,
just watch?
there's no resolution, and it's kind of a weird ending where like that. Why would they? And it's real good though. It's real good. I promise you. But
I believe you.
moving on to video games. So for the past few episodes, we've started the gaming session talking about indie games. Because my YouTube algorithm just sends me a bunch of trailers for cool indie games. And a lot of dope indie games have been released recently, but there's also been a lot of bad gaming news. Last week especially.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off with the bad and then talk about the good indie stuff. Xbox and Bethesda have shut down 4 studios, maybe 5, I think. But 3 of them Bethesda studios and 2 of them just Xbox studios in general. Xbox announced internally it is closing 4 Bethesda studios 3 years after acquiring the company: Arcane Austin, Tingo Gameworks, Alfred Dog, and Roundhouse. Jeff Keighley on Twitter tweeted this, and that's how I first heard about it. Microsoft has made the decision to close several of its internal studios, including Redfall developer Arcane Austin and Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks, as part of a larger effort to quote-unquote reprioritize high-impact titles and invest more deeply in Bethesda's portfolio of blockbuster games, as said by Xbox Game Studios head Matt Booty, which is a crazy name.
Fitting name.
Oh, for sure. He also said that they are doubling down on Bethesda franchises that are best positioned for success. And he says, we need smaller games so that we need smaller games that give us prestige and awards. What the hell is this man talking about? First and
No, like
foremost,
maybe. Hi, Ryan. Come on.
First and foremost, smaller games are just good for the industry. As said by Ralph P. from SkillUp, you need smaller games because it's good for the lifeblood of the industry. You need smaller games because they serve as the petri dish for ideas and innovation. You need smaller games because it lets younger developers cut their teeth on lower risk projects. You need smaller games because if every available resource is channeled into massive AAA live service fattening slop, this industry will Ouroboros itself to death. That is from the words of Ralph P. from SkillUp. And he is absolutely right. Indie games have been taking the world by storm, especially me. I feel like since the pandemic and since after I graduated high school, I started working, making money, and just living my life. And I started playing more games, and I started discovering more indie games, and started having fun that way. And indie games are great. They're so good. And the crazy part is, the way I started getting into indie games is through Xbox on Game Pass, and now they're starting to get rid of them all. All of the good small games that they've been supporting for years to come are now going to start to go away. And that is where I first started getting into these games. But luckily, I'm going to be getting a PC or a gaming laptop soon to play a bunch of indie games on Steam and Epic. So I'm like, couldn't be more upset that I
Right.
have a Game Pass subscription for the next like year until like October. And I'm gonna
Right.
finish up Persona 3 and probably play a little bit more Pal World, and then maybe, depending on if they make any changes, never subscribe again. Because like, come on.
Yeah.
Secondly, if you want smaller prestige games, why did they get rid of the studios known for making them? The small game that came out recently, Hi-Fi Rush, got a BAFTA for animation and won the Game Award for audio design. That's what you're talking about, dude. That's
Right.
the prestige. That's the awards. They did it
That's
for
like
you,
beyond prestige at this point.
and then it also made a lot of money.
A lot of money with no advertisements, no nothing,
It's
no
crazy
promotion.
because
They just released it.
literally no advertisement. They just announced it and then released it, and then it did good. Personally, the game's not for me. I played a little bit of it. I didn't like it, but a lot of people liked it. A lot of people consider it to be a really good game. It did real well. What is wrong with them? And then you have Arcane Austin, which, thank God, as much as it sucks that it was Arcane Austin, that it was only Arcane Austin and not the entirety of Arcane.
Yeah.
Microsoft forced Arcane Austin to make a game that they did not want to make, and wasn't in their wheelhouse in Redfall, and then laid off the entirety of the team because it didn't do well. And long before the studio was shut down, tons of people left the company because they didn't want to be forced to make games that they had no interest in making. Austin was also working on an update that was slated to release, I believe, next month, that would have added 2 new characters to the game and made the game playable offline. But it will no longer come out, meaning that whenever this game shut down servers, Redfall is just dead. This game will cease to exist. Yeah, just Arcane Austin also worked on the very first Dishonored game alongside Arcade Leon.
Right.
And they made Prey, which I haven't gotten around to playing, but I'll play one of these days. And they made Redfall, and it's like, okay, they made a bad game that they didn't want to make in the first place, and it was only bad because you forced them to make a game they didn't want to make. And
Right.
supposedly there were rumors that came out recently that they were actually like in the early stages of starting a new game that might have been Dishonored 3, and I am so mad. You've heard me talk about how much I love Dishonored.
Love Dishonored. Yeah.
They were just about to make a new one finally, and then they closed the studio that was working on it. At least Leon's still there, and they're only there for as long as they're working on Blade, if we're being real. Once Blade's
Yeah.
out, even if Blade does really well, there's no guarantee they're staying
It's
around.
like
There's no guarantee that they're staying around, even if Blade is good. What were you gonna say?
it's just tragic because it's like I will never understand Xbox's like fascination with chewing cyanide tablets. You guys want to compete in the industry, but then continually shoot yourselves in the foot with idiotic decisions like this. I'll never understand it. And I feel like if they would not have broken out with Halo, Xbox would not exist right now.
No, of course not.
And
And
that's my hot take, yeah.
if someone used the great analogy of Microsoft treating these studios like lemons, squeezing them dry and throwing them away. But with the case of Arcane Austin, they were squeezing a lemon and expecting grape juice to come out. Like, come on, they just don't make those types of games. Yeah, like the person I quoted comes from a video titled "The Activisioning of Xbox" from Skill Up's YouTube channel, and it's real good. I would definitely suggest watching that video just to learn about the whole situation. And something that's also mentioned in that video is that one of the heads over at Xbox said that they didn't have like the capacity to manage all these studios. Then why the hell did you buy them? Why did you buy them if you knew you wouldn't be able to support them? You bought them so that you could suck up their IPs and then throw the studios away. And that's trash. And who knows? And despite the fact that they have all these good IPs now, they're probably not going to do anything with them because they got rid of the people who could make good games with them.
Right.
But I'll end with a quote from Dinga Bagaba. Why'd I say his name so fast? Dinga Bakaba from Arcane Leon, who are, like I said, only safe as long as they're working on Blade. He said, "Don't throw us into gold fever gambits. Don't use us as straw men for miscalculations / blind spots. Don't make our work environments Darwinist jungles. You say we make you proud when we make a good game. Make us proud when times are tough. We know you can. We've seen it before." Indies are the future of gaming. And I've never wanted consoles to cease to exist and PC and Nintendo to be the only ways to play games more than right now. Like, if PlayStation and Xbox became purely software companies, we've talked about it a couple episodes ago about how, like, if only Xbox went away, it'd be bad because then PlayStation would become a monopoly. But if they both went away, like, Nintendo's already a monopoly when it comes to handheld gaming. So it's like, they have no competition because they're not competing with PlayStation and Xbox because they make completely different types of games for a completely different audience. So they're not really even competing for the same audience. So instead, it's Xbox and PlayStation. And Xbox goes away, PlayStation becomes a monopoly, and PlayStation have shown recently that they are more than willing to do stupid stuff that for the sake of making money. Even though the stupid thing they did recently with Helldivers would have lost the money, and they very quickly backpedaled on it. But if Xbox ever goes away, they'll drive those prices up. That the next PlayStation gonna be like $800 or something. Like, granted, if consoles go away, we're gonna have people gonna buy PCs, and those are also expensive. But like I said before, we'll get more pre-built PCs. We'll start releasing, and more people will have PCs and have the ability to play whatever games they want in any configuration that they want, and they'll have more flexibility in how their quote unquote console functions, which will be interesting. But yeah, I think indies. I think when the game industry I don't want to say when, because I want to have some hope. The main, like, the AAA studios and all of them implode, indies will save games as a whole, and it'll be glorious when that happens.
Yeah.
When indies save the world, not necessarily things implode.
Yeah, but I get where you're getting from.
But moving on to all the indie games releasing. So I see your trailer for a game called Morta, I believe is how it's pronounced. Is Mohrta. And is a non-linear FPS game blending action, exploration, and light dungeon crawling. Explore a vast selection of unique environments, slay an enormous cast of otherworldly creatures, and upgrade your arsenal of multifaceted weapons. Coming 2025. It feels like a weird combo of Doom and Skyrim, with an art style that gives me Nintendo 64 vibes. It looks very interesting, and these are the type of games that I want to get a PC for. Questmaker. I didn't know this existed, but Nintendo and Zelda were beat to the punch, and I learned that there was also another game before this that did the same thing. Nowadays, we see the opposite of this, where a good idea has a well-known IP plastered onto it. But instead, with this game, they removed the Zelda iconography and made it something original, which is a dungeon maker. Similar to Mario Maker, but for essentially Zelda dungeons. So a lot of my original ideas start off as fan fiction in my head. So for me, it's just like, this process just makes so much sense. A game idea I have, it's heavily based off the original Metal Gear games, which were 2D stealth games. And maybe this could show Nintendo that a Zelda Maker could work, because they still would have the edge by the fact that they're still, Zelda, and they would be able to, similar to Mario Maker, do 3D alongside the 2D levels. But yeah, this game looks really cool. It looks just like Zelda. It looks like a Link's Awakening. So yeah, it looks real fun. Hope it does well. Animal Well, you've heard of this game? Came out recently.
I have Animal Well. I've heard a lot of things about Animal Well.
I struggle to describe what this game is, so I'll quote someone else. Rebecca Valentine from IGN describes Animal Well as a veritable feast of brain teasers that's far more concerned with twisting your mind into knots than any grueling platforming challenges. It's lovely to look at, thanks to gorgeous pixel art and dynamic lighting, and an excellent use of haptics and well-tuned physics systems make it fun to touch too. The steadily unlocked toy box of tools thoroughly rewards play, curiosity, and experimentation for hours upon hours after the credits roll. Though that late game maze of mind teasers might grate once in a while if you're reluctant to ask for help, The massive onion of Animal Well's secrets remain dense, clever, and thrilling, even when you're peeled back as many layers as you think you possibly can, and then peeled a few more beyond that. So it's a Metroidvania, but with no combat, interesting enough. And you play a little blob in this well full of animals. And similar to a game that came out a while ago that's heavily inspired by isometric Zelda games called Tunic, there are no instructions. But unlike Tunic, in Tunic the instructions are in a different language that you have to decipher, and eventually you can learn the mechanics through that. But in this game there isn't even that. You just have to press buttons and move around and figure it out. And that's interesting.
That is really neat.
Yeah, after watching Rebecca's IGN review on YouTube, I can't help but think that strand elements would enhance the experience of this game. The term strand being coined by Kojima in reference to games that allow multiplayer through social interaction rather than directly playing with each other. So leaving behind clues or items to help other players along. In Death Stranding, you could build a structure to help you deliver a package, and it could pop up in another person's game to help them out. And there was like a like system, so if it's a really helpful structure, people thumbs it up, and if it's bad, they will thumbs it down. It will probably be in less people's game. And something like that for a game like this would be interesting. Maybe not for this game in particular, because I feel like this game lends itself to the mystery. But I feel like a Metroidvania like this with strand elements would be really fun. The last Mario game had some strand elements where people could leave signposts that give hints about things, which is very interesting. So, a Metroidvania to incorporate something like that would actually be really fun.
I think so too.
Another game that I saw a trailer for recently is called Crow Country.
I saw a lot about Crow Country. I'm really excited for it.
I haven't watched any reviews just yet, but I've watched a couple trailers, and the year is 1990. It's been 2 years since the mysterious disappearance of Edward Crow and the abrupt closure of his theme park, Crow Country. But your arrival has broken the silence. Myra Forrest. What? I'm sorry. I'm so confused with the way that that's written. But if you want answers, you'll have to venture deep into the darkness of Crow Country to find them. A survival horror game where you'll test yourself against puzzles and riddles as you investigate the eerie tranquility of the abandoned theme park. Don't be deceived by the whimsical surroundings. Something is awfully wrong in Crow Country. As you unlock new areas, backtrack and discover more, you gradually piece together why Edward really shut down his park and where he mysteriously disappeared to. It's an old school fixed camera survival horror game similar to the old RE games, but with an art style that looks like the original Final Fantasy VII, weirdly enough, which is a strange combination.
Reminds me, like, aesthetically, it's like if Resident Evil, there's a little bit of Silent Hill in there from what I'm seeing too,
For sure.
and this really really small but really really interesting game called Illbleed, which I think you should check out. I think you'd enjoy. It's like all three of those games like mashed together into some weird abomination, and I really really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's out now on everything, PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. Not Nintendo though. But yeah, it looks cool. I might have to give it a shot. Speaking of survival horror, Tango Gameworks also made Ghostwire Tokyo, which didn't do very well. And this, I think they were actually the next game that they were going to make after Hi-Fi Rush was a second game in that franchise. But they also made The Evil Within 1 and 2, which I played the first one. Love that game. It's great. Haven't got around to the second one. I heard it's really good as well. But yeah, it sucks that they're gone. Hopefully they could do something, man. But Marvel Rivals, the closed alpha, is out now. And it ends on the 20th. It's currently the 13th. And yeah, it looks so fun. And it looks now that I've actually seen it in action, I'm like, okay, this is very similar to Overwatch, but it's not the same because it's third person and there's a lot of melee, and it just looks real good. The problem is none of the characters interest me a lot, but I know there are characters upcoming that have been leaked. That will interest me. My top three are, like I said before, Cyclops. When Cyclops is in the name, he's my main no matter what. Even if he's bad, I'm playing Cyclops. And then my second is Blade, who's been rumored to be in like the full roster when the game fully comes out. And Hawkeye is my third, who was just straight up leaked.
Right.
So we know Hawkeye's in the game. We know Venom will be in the game. He was leaked. Johnny Storm, Human Torch, was leaked. Who else? Cloak and Dagger were leaked, which there will be one character that you can. I think you can switch between the two because they're two people. And there was another character that I can't. Ultron was also leaked. So we know those characters will be in the game eventually, but some other characters that were in that were similar to Blade that were kind of like data mod, like these will be in the full roster when the game comes out, were characters that make sense. Oh, Thor was also leaked. So like Thor, Captain America, naturally, if he wasn't in the game, that would be absolutely insane. Wolverine, another character that if he wasn't in the game would be insane. My character, for some reason though, in that list, Cyclops wasn't there, and I'm like, what? Where's Cyclops? How are you not gonna have Cyclops? How is he not gonna be in the main roster of this game? I'm confused. If you're gonna, but he'll be there eventually, I'm sure.
I hope so.
But yeah, this game was real fun. Go ahead.
I think what's really funny about it to me is I've been seeing on Twitter lately that like YouTubers that get early access codes to it have to sign a contract. And there's a clause in the contract that says you're not allowed to say bad things about it in your review, which I think
that's funny.
It's funny, and then the language specifically that they use is funny because they're like, these are banned phrases, and it's like bootleg Overwatch.
That makes sense.
It makes sense. But it's also just like really funny seeing all this corporate language and then like mid AF in the middle of it.
But telling people they can't criticize it is weird. But telling people not to compare it to Overwatch, I think, makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. The no criticism thing is a little strange, though.
Yeah, that's weird. I'm not surprised. It's Disney. But
yeah.
Hela is voiced by Nika Futterman, who voices Asajj Ventress in Star Wars Clone Wars. I recognized her voice immediately. She started speaking. I was like, that's Asajj, who shows up in the Bad Batch.
Really?
Yes. Supposedly, spoiler alert for just Star Wars in general. Spoiler alert for Clone Wars. Spoiler for Bad Batch. Spoiler alert for I think The Dark Disciple, which is a book I'm gonna have to read eventually, with Asajj, where she supposedly dies, but then the Bad Batch reveals she's not dead. She's alive. She's arrived. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
But moving on to, as you know, I'm gonna save this for second to last. You know what? I'm gonna save it for last, and I'm gonna talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There's a relationship system in the game that determines who you go on a date with towards the end of the game. And I tried my damnedest to make sure it was my beloved Tifa.
Right.
But what you do is you go to bed, and then you wake up, somebody knocks on your hotel door, and you open it, and it's whoever you're going on a date with. Aiara. Tell me why the goddamn dog knocked on my door.
Be pissed.
I opened the door and the dog started talking. I said, "Hey yo, if you don't get your Scooby-Doo head ass out of here, bro, where's Tifa?" I immediately went to Google, like, how do I fix this? So I reloaded the save right before that because I made sure I saved just in case it wasn't who I wanted it to be. I would have accepted if it was Aerith. I would have went with it and be like, okay, fine, I'll go on a date with Aerith, even though Aerith, you cool, but you ain't that cool.
Right.
But I went back and all I had to do was do a couple of side quests that upped my relationship with Tifa, and then I went on a date with Tifa. It was fantastic. At the end of the date, spoiler alert for Final Fantasy Rebirth, they kissed. It was phenomenal. I loved it. Shout out to Tifa. But yeah, I was so upset. You cannot look. You don't know the face. Look,
I can imagine.
There was a knock on the door like it was a person. I opened the door and there was a red cat dog.
I think that's the part that's killing me the most. Like the manners and politeness to knock on the door when you are a full ass dog. Like,
God, it was so wild. I was like, this can't be.
My Talos, this can't be happening.
But so Tales of Kenzara Zao released, which was announced at the Game Awards, which was that Afro futuristic game that they showed off,
right?
Where the main actor and writer came out on stage and talked about it. Embark on a poignant single-player story shaped by actor Abu Kabar Salim's own experience with grief, discovering how love gives us the courage to press on after devastating loss. As Zhao, you must face your own emotions to become a worthy I don't know how to pronounce this word. Unganga? A spiritual healer. Tales of Kenzara Zhao is a Metroidvania video game developed by Surgent Studios and published by Electronic Arts under its EA Originals label. So when Salim announced it at the Game Awards last year, I thought that he was just a writer and actor on the project, which is cool in of itself. But he's also the creative director and created this studio to make this game. Which I found out in an episode of the podcast Play, Watch, Listen. Salim is an actor known for his roles on House of the Dragon and Saved by Wolves, and had absolutely zero experience in game development before this project. And I played a few hours of it, and it's really fun so far. The controls are very simple, so it'll be very easy for me to pick up and play again after I finish Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And it's out now everywhere, but I'm playing it through my PlayStation Plus subscription. At a no additional cost, which is really cool. But yeah, I'm just surprised about his journey of making this game. Because I thought he just wrote on it because it's about like his experience losing his father and he voices the main character. But no, this man, the whole creative director, and he was actively like still taking acting roles while he's directing this game. Like this man really put in the work.
Crazy.
But last but not least, Hades 2.
Yes.
Early access.
Yes.
It's so good. I can't stop watching people play it, and I'm upset because I keep getting kind of spoiled. But I'm doing it to myself, and I'm watching. I'm like, I watch it. And
damn, spoilers.
Exactly.
But then
it's like, damn. I wish I would have saw that myself, but I guess it's too late. If I could Men in Black just flash myself right before I play the game, I would.
Yeah. Like,
I would download the game, boot it up, and okay, flash myself. I don't remember anything about this game. I don't even remember the first trailer. Let's just play it. But yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Some of our theories were immediately proven correct in like the first trailer for the early access. One being that there are more than 3 areas. There's way more.
Wow.
There's not just more than 3. There's way more than 3. And not all of them are there. Because it's early access. It's crazy. I'm not going to say anything other than there's more than 3. And the other one being that you'll be able to romance both of the siblings of Moros and Nemesis.
I see.
This time around, honestly, I'm feeling the guy more than the girl. Whereas I was more of a...
Really?
I was a Megara simp in the first game. But this time around, I'm feeling Moros. But the character art has grown on me as well, as I knew it would. I never thought it was bad.
Right.
I just prefer the art style of the first game, but it's grown on me. I like it. But yeah, it's so good. Everything about it is great. The weapons are cool.
It's fantastic.
Again, I saw a spoiler, but this one was on Twitter. It wasn't me watching somebody play it. Where like the aspects will low-key completely change the appearance of the weapons now, and it won't just be like a skin over the weapon that makes it look completely different.
Right.
I'm not going to spoil it, but there's one that I saw for the X that was just made it literally a different weapon. And I think it's still, the animations for it are all the same, but it's damn near a completely different weapon. So the aspects are going to be much, like, they basically took everything about the first game and added layers on top of it. Now, granted, I didn't see anybody use that aspect of the weapon, so for all I know, maybe it low-key also does function completely different.
Right.
Because I'm not joking when I say it went from an axe to a different weapon. It's still a big heavy weapon, but it's a completely different type of big heavy weapon.
I see.
And it might still just look different but play the same, but who knows? I haven't seen it. And hopefully I never do. Just 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks before I move.
2 more weeks.
And then buy it. Unfortunately, the price went back up because it was at a discount. But hopefully, by the time I move, the price for the laptop goes back down. And I already found the perfect mouse and keyboard to use with it. It's going to be great. It's going to be so good. And a mouse pad that's Metal Gear Solid themed. That's going to be great.
Ooh, nice.
But yeah, I'm really excited to play this game. Yeah, I saw several people get all the way down to Kronos and fight Kronos.
I saw that Kronos has a really cool gimmick that
Yeah,
I
I
won't
would. Yeah, I
spoil,
wasn't.
but
I wasn't gonna spoil it if you didn't see it, but since you know, spoiler
I have seen
for
it.
people who haven't. We're gonna have some light spoilers for certain things that we both are aware of. You
Mm.
you can't pause the game when you're fighting Kronos unless you can eventually you unlock something, but for like several runs, once you get to the end, you will not be
Can't
able to
do it.
pause the game, and he will be like, "What are you doing? We're fighting," and unpause the game.
Yep.
It's gonna be like
It
imagine you got to do something in the middle of the boss fight.
you can still alt tab out and that still works, but that goes
That's
against the
cheating.
spirit of it to me. And it reminds me because there's something similar that happens in Lobotomy Corp in one of the boss fights where it's like you have control over the time speed of the game completely. So pause, fast forward, slow down. During that boss fight, you can't do any of it. Not, and I'm like, that's such diabolical game design, but I love it. I love making the player like when devs make the player rely on something and then take it away, so
Yeah.
it becomes like a thing of skill. It's like you have to prove yourself.
Yeah, like Loki, they turned it into Dark Souls. You can't pause the game. You pause the game's going to keep going. You're just gonna have to keep
Yep.
fighting. Uh,
Yep.
yeah, nah, this game it's so exciting.
Fantastic.
What do you know? I want to hear what you know.
So I know I've actually been surprisingly like light on information. I know I've seen a lot of designs. I know about the Chronos thing. But I haven't really watched much gameplay because I wanted to save it. If I didn't spoil anything for myself in the game, I wanted to keep the gameplay a secret. And also, I have a lot of the words for relating to Hades 2 muted on Twitter.
Yeah,
Not
I was thinking of muting it, but I was like, nah.
but not by virtue of like not wanting spoilers. Rather, there is so much goddamn discourse about this game, and I am tired of seeing
Wait, what's
it.
happening? What I miss?
So, you know, like
Is it about
a
early
certain
access or
subset.
is it just the game? Oh,
No,
is it
it's the
about?
designs.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I know it is. It's
yeah,
about
yeah. And I'm
Persephone. I mean not Persephone. Aphrodite
Aphrodite
and
and Hestia, and like it's just like
and
there.
Hephaestus,
Yeah, and it's like
where people just like
everyone was a person of color in the first Hades, and y'all were fine with it. What happened?
the moment they became disabled, and the moment they're disabled and fat, they're like, hey, hold on now.
Hey, that's not what the Greeks look like. And it's like,
You can be
tell these
you can be
people
black, but you still have to be conventionally attractive.
attractive, right? And like they're transvestigating Aphrodite, and it's like, you can tell these people have never like engaged with Greek mythology beyond like baby's first Edith Hamilton book
Yeah, one
in
of the
middle
people
school.
I'm watching play the game is actually I found his video because in the title it says like Greek mythology expert plays Hades too, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, and I played it, and he's like has studied Greek mythology in college, and he knows a lot about it, and he's talking about Greek mythology as he plays the game, and that's really fun. And he talks about how like in Greek mythology, Hephaestus is meant to be like deformed in some way physically. And I never really knew that. I think always when I see him and stuff, like in God of War games, he's like physically deformed in some type of way. But I didn't know that was like an aspect of the character always.
He's got a club foot, and that's why all the other gods hate him because he's not like
Perfect.
them.
Yeah, and the same
Yeah, and that's
in Blood of
why.
Zeus, he doesn't have a club foot, but he is meant to be like not as pretty as all the other gods. He's like slightly more like kind of stocky and like not like very conventionally attractive in Blood of
And it's
Zeus.
like integral to his whole thing because that's why Aphrodite treats him the way that she does, i.e., cheating on him with her brother. Like it's a whole thing, and it irritates me specifically because it's like I can tell none of y'all like it. All this discourse that's
They're also
ultimately
arguing
pointless.
about a game that they are not going to play. It's always people
Exactly.
who don't play the game who say this stuff.
Right? They're like, oh, now woke has ruined everything. You didn't even play the first
You
Hades.
don't
You don't
even
even
care.
go here.
You're just here to
And
hate.
I think what blows me the most about it is that they're comparing the god design in Hades to like anime, and these anime designs are boring. They're
Yes.
boring.
They're always boring.
They're
Always. And of
just
course, because Stellar Blade came out not too long ago, they're talking about that too. And what was it?
right,
People got mad because some of the costumes. There's a lot of really like well designed costumes in that game.
right.
And people got mad that some of them like more clothes was added to them, and people
Yeah,
are
and
like, oh,
it's the same people,
yeah,
by the way.
and people are saying like, oh, they censored it. And then one of the leads on the game came out straight up and said, PlayStation did not censor us. The reason we added more clothes is because we just thought it looked better in terms of fashion. We're not making these designs just to make her sexy. We're making it because we think the clothes look cool. Stop being horny, you weirdos. That's basically what he
Right.
said. He came out and said, you guys just don't understand fashion. We added more clothes because it looked good, not because we were trying to cover her up because PlayStation told us to. That is not what happened.
It's like you guys are freaks. Can't.
But yeah, they're just a vocal minority in the grand scheme of things. These are
Yeah.
by no means the vast majority of people. Most people are just going to play the game and have fun and enjoy the
Right.
good
Be
old
normal about it.
game for bisexual people. You know, bisexual people been eating good lately,
I know that we listen.
just been eating good.
So much food.
But
Great.
there was a little bit of discourse. It didn't last very long, but about early access, where it's kind of weird. About whether or not it's good or bad, and the answer is simple. Of course, it's good.
Right.
There are a few examples of it being bad, but the biggest ones honestly involve the full game just never releasing.
Yeah. And Hades doesn't have that
Yeah.
problem.
And on the flip side, you have games like Hades and Baldur's Gate 3, where early access is used to find bugs, get feedback from players to make the final product great. And of course, not all games should go into early access. Like linear story focused games should not be placed in early access because it would ruin the story. Whereas Hades is a story focused game, but it's non-linear, so you don't experience the story in a way that would be ruined by playing the early access. And yeah, it's just it also works as a bit of a form of advertising, as a positive word of mouth spreads way before the game officially releases, and it also gives players a bit of a peek behind the curtain to see how games are made and how long it takes, and creating more sympathy and empathy for devs and dev cycles. And last but not least, you can choose whether or not you play a game in early access or not. No one's forcing you.
And that's like the peak bit of it for me. It's like you if you don't want to, you don't have to. Also, didn't we have this discourse already when Hades 1 was
I don't know. I
Why
wasn't
are
really
we
paying
why are we
attention to
dragging
that
it back
stuff when
up?
that came out. I
Didn't
played
make sense.
like 2 years after it came out.
Y'all just at this point, like discourse about video games is so asinine to me. Like y'all are just arguing to hear yourselves talk at this point, and
For sure.
it's annoying.
And I've mentioned it before how a lot of AAA games more AAA games, because Baldur's Gate, even though they're an independent studio, the game, in terms of scope and budget, was AAA. More AAA games need to do early access, especially multiplayer AAA games, because what is it? There's the game made by Motive. They're working on Iron Man, and they made the Dead Space remake. They made Anthem, the game about the flying robots, right, or the flying mech suits, right? That game didn't do well, but it had a lot of solid ideas. And if it went into early access, maybe that game would have did really well, and it would be out right now. People would be playing it. But that's all I got. If you don't have anything else.
No, that's all I got.
But yeah, you can find my ads below me. Aiara's at below them, and the Musk's at below that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.